Waters, I'm almost tempted to just stick with this conversation because I got so many questions for you. But the biggest thing you brought up was the meat narrative. And I know this is a crypto show, but I'd just like to get your take real quick. What is your opinion on the food objective that's going on? You said it was centralized with governments. I know on the CDC's website, they actually say that Lucky Charms have more nutritional value than a steak. Now, we can sit here and debate that all day, but what I'd really like to get at is what is your take? What is your real narrative about the meats and things of that nature? Because I'm just interested to learn.
Are you sure? Are you sure you want me to talk about this?
I'm very open-minded.
Can you re-ask the question really quickly?
I'd like to know the truth behind why you believe the CDC is getting rid of meat when they're telling us that things like Lucky Charms have more nutritional value.
I don't believe anyone's getting rid of anything. I think all of this is a distortion away from people knowing about detoxification and about fasting and about how the human physiology actually works, and not teaching people about the gut microbiota and getting people to only focus on things like our blood chemistry and not about our lymphatic system. So when it comes down to the conversation of foods, people are way too caught up in things like nutritional value, but they have no idea about hydration, which the body is literally a walking water. Our body is just
70%.
if you were to, it's just structured water. That's all it is. Yep. So meat has very little water in it. Eggs has very little water in it, especially after it's been cooked. So nobody wants to talk about the pure fact that if you're dehydrated, which 99% of people are, regardless of how so-called how nutritionally sound you are or who you're listening to, whether they're a nutritionist, dietitian, etc. So I'll just say that people need to focus on their hydration, and that has nothing to do with being vegan or vegetarian or omnivore or carnivore or whatever ist or that you want to throw at the end of a title. It's all just a bunch of buzzwords. But I would go ahead and say that it's going to be a difficult conversation to have with most people, especially when they start throwing in this idea that the carbon credit agenda or anything tied to hyperinflation or health and wellness with meat, dairy, eggs, because these are foods that have been part of the standard diet of most people for so long that it's almost like a religion now. So you can't really have this conversation with people unless they're very open-minded, because talking about nutrition is almost like talking about a religion that somebody practices. And people are learning about the religion just like they learn about nutrition. They're learning about it from a pastor, aka you're learning about nutrition from a doctor or dietitian. And if you study these people, they're all wrong all the time. And they barely know about the physiology of the human body. I've had so many conversations with doctors who do not know about the lymphatic system. They have no idea about it. That's sad. That's sad. This person went to so much schooling and they have they're literally a doctor, and they have went through, out of all of their years in college, maybe 10% of it or less was about nutrition. How are they going to be able to help people in this world if they don't even know about how you're supposed to properly eat? And then the people who do study how you're supposed to eat, they don't even know about the whole system. They only know about a little piece of it. So they have no idea holistically how the body works. And they treat the body in isolation when the body is an organism. It is one full organism. When you start to have a failure in one part of your body, it starts to affect the whole body.
Correct. That's right. At the end of the day, when you talk to a lot of these doctors, they don't try to holistically heal you, right? They give you a pill as a Band-Aid, Abs. It's not about holistically finding the solution like some of the naturopathic doctors try. And, Waters is right about, if you think about it, you could survive without food for, 20, 30 days. But you know what? Water, they say 2 to 3 days. That's it. You're done without water. So true that you have to be able to, it's all about hydration.
It depends on how hydrated you are. If you're dehydrated severely, you could probably only go 24 to 48 hours and you start to really have some failure. You could start having organ failure. But somebody like me, who's extremely hydrated, because this is something that I've been practicing and preaching and teaching for now over a decade. Believe it or not, I have more awareness and knowledge and wisdom in health and wellness than I do even in cryptocurrency. So this is a topic that I talk about a lot in my live streams. I also speak on it a lot in my last course that I created, the Expansion Mastermind course. And if you become effectively hydrated, you can go 10 days without drinking any water or eating food. It's called a dry fast. But you need to be on your shit. You need to know what you're doing. I'm not telling people to go do that. But I guarantee you, if you're somebody who's done a 24, 48-hour dry fast, you're going to see insane results. You're going to see better skin. The reason being is because you're curing your lymphatic system, which it's all coming through the skin effectively. If you're somebody who has acne, psoriasis, any issues with skin, That's because your lymphatic system is going through some trouble and the toxins are spilling over, not draining through the kidneys effectively, and it's creating toxicity in the blood. So again, people can get educated on this at a deeper level. Learning about the lymph and learning about gut microbiota, you're going to put all that talk about protein and macronutrients on the sidelines because it's literally like 10% of the conversation. It's not important. When you talk to the nutritionists, they make it the pinnacle of the conversation. How much protein you're getting, how many carbs. That's all low level stuff. That's like people who are like a Bitcoin maxi. They don't know shit.
That was funny. But Jordan, I wanted to get your thoughts on this as well. Someone like Johnny does a ton of studying, does a ton of educating. We're always talking about new and interesting topics. You said, I hope you're open-minded. I like to think I'm open-minded, but I'm somebody who's been doing, participating in fasting, whether that's water fast or dry fast, for about 3 years now. And I used to have some health issues when I was in high school because of how poor my diet was. I was always an athlete. I was always in good shape, but I used to have things like acne or things that were things of chronic inflammation. It was when I gave my body that time to detox. The way that I had somebody explain it to me, I went to an apothecary, quote unquote, doctor or specialist, I'm not sure what you'd call it. And they said that your body, when it's digesting, is using a bunch of energy. And it's they explain it to me in a simple way.
Precisely.
If you have 100% of a battery, now you take
protein is extremely hard to digest. Protein is literally damaging the body if you eat it in excess. It is creating an excessive strain on your body's digestive system. But yeah, continue.
Fascinating, Water. See, and this is the type of stuff that I think is honestly even more valuable than crypto sometimes, because health is the most important thing. And the number one thing I realized when I started fasting is, number one, I didn't have to eat as much food as I thought. Number two, my skin and my body were getting back to neutral. I used to have things like acne or things where I would have an injury, and those types of things seemed like they went away almost within a couple of months of me changing my diet. So it's really exciting. I'm not sure why I threw that in there, but maybe you can close us out on this topic because it changed my life.
Yeah, I mean, if you have any final things to ask, I got about 10, 15 minutes with you guys. But yeah, the reason that those things are curing is because your skin is your largest organ. So your skin will start to clear up after you change your diet, because you literally are what you eat, and you perform based on how you eat. So if you're dehydrated all the time, you're going to have poor performance. You're not going to be able to have as good of a session at the gym or as good of a session playing with your children outside. You know, this is the reason why a lot of people have an issue getting around and moving, being mobile, because they're eating things that are keeping them in a consistent state of chronic inflammation, and they're dehydrated too. So if you are properly hydrated, if you're effectively hydrated, it is very difficult for you to be inflamed, because your body has liquid in it shuttling out all the poisons and toxins through your urine, through your sweat, etc. So the more you move, it's obviously important, but it's just sad because the fitness industry and everything doing to deal with health and wellness, it tends to push high protein diets, low carbohydrate diets, low hydration diets, and then tells you to move a lot, which is like a fucking ticking time bomb. Okay.
Exactly.
You know, so you could only get effectively hydrated by properly by eating carbohydrate. That's the only way to do it. We just have to go through the conversation of what's the right one. And people say, oh, sugar's bad for you. Okay, well, what about sugar cane? See, it's not that sugar's bad for you. It's processed food is bad for you. Correct. Nobody if vegans are telling you to eat vegan meat, walk away from them, you know, but that's not the vegan agenda. Vegans are eating more antioxidants and consuming more phytonutrients than everyone combined. One single vegan might be consuming the foods that will keep them in a state of health and longevity for a much longer time. But that's not my thing. I'm not trying to push a team to play on. I think that's all divisive and kind of nonsensical. I don't call myself a vegan, vegetarian, omnivore, any of that. I eat what I know I need to eat based on decades of self-study and me curing myself and curing other people. You know, my grandma was a diabetic on like 16 medications. And then she started practicing some of the information that I was sharing with her. She lost about 60, 70 pounds and then cut her medications in half. And just the medications that they're giving these people is shortening their life. You're not designed to be popping all these pills all day, every day, and then shooting up insulin. So you should never be able to get diabetes. It's an impossible condition until you enter a highly processed food consumption regimen. Think about this. If you are somebody that needs exogenous insulin to just live, you are a fucking zombie. You're not even alive anymore. your body is broken and now it's relying on the healthcare system to live. That's exactly what they want out of you guys too.